Hello again, it's Karen here at Corrie Paper Crafts. I just thought I'd share some more crafty inspiration, or hopefully inspiration anyway. And this time it's a stacked trio of boxes, and I made these using some of the free designer series paper that we've had in Celebration. But checking online just before I filmed this video, unfortunately this paper, the Golden Honey DSP, appears to be sold out now. We are in the last 9 days of Celebration, so things are starting to disappear. So I'm going to make the same boxes, and I'm going to use a different free DSP. So I'm still making the boxes using free products, but if you do have the Golden Honey DSP, then you'll still be able to make them. But you know, you can make them using any colour of card and any paper you like, really. So I'll pop these to the side. Maybe I should give you the measurements actually. Let me just double check. So the bottom box is 7 inches by 4 inches, and then the next box is 6 inches by 3 inches, and the top box is 4 inches by 2 inches. So quite a lot of storage in there if you want to gift it to somebody with some goodies in. And I've made them 2 inches deep, so they're not too shallow either, and they all do have reinforced lids on them, which is my favourite kind of lid to make, and I just think it gives it a neater edge along here and gives it just that little bit of extra strength. So I'm going to pop these out of the way, and then I'm going to show you the papers that I'm going to use this time round, and do part of the box making on camera and part off camera, because they're all made in exactly the same way with a slight adjustment to the top box. So I've already prepped a little bit in advance with these as well, and I've already done my scoring. So I'm now going to use the Flowering Foils DSP, which again is a free product, which is still in stock at the moment, and I'm filming this on Tuesday the 24th of March. So they still seem to be available. They are free with a £45 spend. Really pretty papers. You've maybe seen other demonstrators colouring these, because you can colour them, particularly this larger sheet here. Lovely foiling. A rare occasion where they are not double-sided, but very, very pretty. They've got silver and sort of rose gold foiling on the sheets as well. It's a pack of 12 sheets, and you get 4 of each one. I think that's right, or is it 4 designs? Oh jings, maybe it's 4 designs and it's 3 of each. Let's just have a quick look and I'll tell you. And let you see them while we're at it. So you've got these designs that you've just seen. Yep, 4 designs, 3 of each. I knew there was one missing, and it's that one there, which is just silver. Really pretty. So if you've got these, then you can make them alongside me. And for the bases, I'm just using thick Whisper White cardstock. So for the black boxes, I scored all the cardstock at 2 inches on all 4 sides, and I've done the same with my white cardstock for these boxes. But the lids on these ones I scored at 1 inch and then at 2 inches to make the reinforced boxes. This time round I want less of the white box showing and more of the DSP showing, so I've scored at just 3/4 of an inch and 2 inches. The 2 inch score mark is the most important one, but if you want more of the lid showing, just make that first score line less than you would have normally. So instead of 1 inch, I've scored it at 3/4 of an inch, and then again at 2 inches as before on all 4 sides on all pieces of my DSP. So I've done all that cutting and scoring ahead of time, and I'm going to show you how to make up the base for the bottom box and the lid for the bottom box. Whoops. and then I'm going to put most of the other boxes together and then come back again to save you having to sit and watch that. I want to make this a slightly shorter video. So once you've folded and burnished on all your score lines, you'll see as usual that you've got the 4 squares in the corners, and again we're just going to cut up to the horizontal score lines like that, taking the score line off with the square tab and just notch here and notch here. And I'm going to be a bit more careful with my cutting today, because yesterday that's when I cut my hand with my paper snips, these very ones, so they're really sharp. I'm going to rotate my box as I normally do and just do the same again here. A wedge on either side. It doesn't matter how big or small the wedges are, as long as you're taking a piece off to help it to go together easily without anything overlapping. And I'll show you actually these corners here, when you put that folded edge to the straight edge here, with you having wedged it, it means that you've got no overlap here and you're not having to struggle to butt the other edge up against your card. Whereas if you don't do any trimming, quite often what you find is that you get a little bit of overlap here and you're just going to have to come along and trim it anyway. So if you do that all beforehand, it saves you a bit of a headache once you've actually put your box together. So again, a couple of wedges here and here. And the same again, oops, on the last side. And normally I would put several pieces of tape on each of these tabs, but again, for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to put one piece on each part. So that's what you're left with once you've done your cutting. It's like a sort of pinwheel effect that you get there. So I'm going to turn it over and come along with my tearing tape. And I'm just going to add a piece of tearing tape along each flap near the fold that I've just burnished. As I say, normally I would add extra tape, but for the purposes of the video I'm just trying to keep it short since we're making 3 boxes. Oops, stuck to me. And there we are. Give these an extra press just to make sure they're stuck down, and then take the backing tape off and join the box together as normal. I'm going to use my take-a-pick tool just to help take the backing off of these. And anything that's overlapping, it just folds back on itself as well. I've managed to get a little bit of fluff or something on there too. I had a fluffy jersey on earlier and it's got stuck to a few things, I think. So, straight edge on the larger rectangle to the folded edge here and just stick together. There we go. And just give that a little extra press down. Ugh. I've obviously got some glue stuck to my paper folder. Didn't like that much, but I'll clean that. So that's the bottom box made. And this is what I mean about not putting bits of tape on that end as well. So I might come back and just pop some liquid glue to hold those. So that's your box made for the largest box on the bottom. So just pop that out of the way and bring in the DSP that I've got for that box. And again, sorry, the largest box, I didn't give you any sizes, did I, which would really help. I cut that cardstock to 11 inches by 8 inches, which means when it's folded up, it folds up to your box measuring 7 by 4. Apologies for that. And the DSP for the lid, I cut that to the same size plus an extra bit, so I cut it to 11 and just over 1/16, so 11 and an extra bit. by 8 and just over 1/16 because I'm going to be doubling it over. So again, 8 and a little bit. You can just cut them to the same size, and then when you're scoring your lid, just bring it out a little bit from the edge of your scoreboard. I'll just show you quickly what I mean, which is what a lot of demonstrators tend to do. So instead of butting it right up into the corner, they butt it up to the top, but just bring it out from the edge a little bit so that you've got a bit of a gap. And that's fine if that's what you do, or add a shim, a double thickness piece of card or something like that. But I just prefer to cut a little bit extra in the first place, and then knowing me, I would forget to either put my shim in or pull it out slightly. So just over 11 and 1/16 by just over 8 and 1/16, or 11 and a wee bit and 8 and a wee bit, but make sure it's not too much, because then you're going to find that your lid is too big for the box. And then I've scored that, as I said, at 3/4 of an inch and 2 inches on all 4 sides. So you've got to remember that you've got 2 score lines on each side that you need to fold and burnish, and just be gentle when you are folding and burnishing this so that you don't mark your foil. It's quite thin paper, but strong enough to make a lid for a box. It's really pretty, and in some respects you're actually not having to decide which side of the paper you're going to use, because sometimes you want to use one side of the paper and you like the reverse side just as much, and then it becomes a bit of a difficult decision. So with this, that choice is already made a lot easier because there isn't a back side to this paper. So there we are, I've got all my score lines folded and burnished. So not maybe so easy to see on that side, but on this side you'll see that when we've folded and burnished, we've actually ended up with 4 sections on each corner and 2 sections on the sides, and that's the part that's going to fold over to strengthen the box lid once it's all put together. But there are some pieces of each corner that you want to take away, so you're going to keep this larger square here, and you're going to get rid of these 3 sections on the outside of that. So it's like a reverse L on each corner, or an L shape if you're left-handed and cutting from that side. So as long as you remember to keep that big square on each of the corners, you'll be fine. So what we're going to do is cut up past that first score line, that horizontal score line, to the second score line. So it's just as we did for the base, but you've just got an extra score line here, otherwise it's more or less exactly the same. And then we're going to cut up this score line here, keeping the straight edge on the rectangle and removing the score line onto here. So you're left with this, and we're just going to cut at an angle to remove these 2 parts from the outside of here, and then we're going to cut across here to take that section off too, and that's what you're left with. Okay, and then very quickly just miter that a little bit here as well. So you've removed these 3 outer parts, you're keeping this larger flap on the inside. Don't worry if you don't cut it straight, because it's actually going to fold in to help put your box lid together. You're going to wedge this edge here and wedge this edge here, and then the last thing that you need to do is just wedge either side of that tab as well. And you're going to do that on all 4 corners. So I'll do one more and then I'll pause the video and I'll come back to you once I've done all the cutting. So again, you've got your 4 sections here. You're going to keep this larger section in here and remove these other 3. So I'm going to cut up this first score line here, past that first horizontal score line to the second one, and then I'm going to remove this, just cutting it at a bit of an angle. So I've already removed these 2 parts, and then cut up this score line here, keeping the score line on the part that we're going to be removing and wedging, so that the straight edge is on what will be one of the edges of our box. Turn that round, and then just remove that outer piece here like that, and then wedge on the tab for putting the lid together, and a small wedge on the edge of here. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and then I'll do the other two corners and I'll be right back. So that's all the corners cut on my box and ready to stick together, and I've also gone ahead and added tearing tape, as you would normally for putting your lid together, just along the tabs on those folded edges. But because it's a reinforced box, I also added tape onto the inside of what are the flaps that will fold over to just make that neat edge. So I did that off camera too. So all I want to do first of all is take the backing off the tape on the tabs like that, and I'm going to ignore these parts for now because I'm just going to assemble my lid as if it was a normal lid without the reinforced part. So I'm just going to ignore all these flaps for now. So straight edge up to the folded edge as usual, just like so. And then that would have been my lid made if I wasn't reinforcing the edges, because it would just have looked like that. But because I'm reinforcing the edges, we've obviously got an extra bit to do. So I'm just going to make sure that all these tabs inside are glued down and crisping up those edges. And then hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'm going to take the backing off of one side at a time. Now some people lay their lid flat and tend to put it together this way. I prefer to keep each edge flat on my desk and then just give it a press down like that. So hopefully you can see that, and then just give that a little burnish along where the tape is. And I'm just going to do that on all four sides, just keeping my lid flat. And as you fold that edge in, your tape takes hold, but you're also helping to hold down those flaps too. So again, it just gives each corner that little bit of extra reinforcement. So last two sides. There we are. Okay, and that's my lid made. So the moment of truth, and it's always the moment of truth when you try and put your lid on. There we are. Okay, and you get that kind of whooshing sound as you put the lid on your box, and that's the biggest box made. I really like that. It's bowing a little bit just because it's thinner paper, but that'll settle down, and when I put the ribbon round, that won't be sticking out at all. So that's really pretty. And as you can see, the difference between the two boxes is that that lid is about 1/4 of an inch longer, so you can see less of the white and more of the beautiful paper. So I'm going to go and put the other two boxes together. So this is the middle box and this is the top box, but I'll come back and show you just the slight difference in what I do with the tabs on the smallest box here. So I'll be back just in a second. So that's the middle box made and the lid made for the smallest box, and I'm really quite pleased with these. They look very, very pretty, so it's going to kind of look like that once it's all finished. But like I said, I'm making the base of the very top box in a slightly different way, and the reason for that is because it's a small box and because this is a 2-inch width as well as the flaps being 2 inches. When I join the corner flaps onto the longer rectangles, then that's fine, but when I join these flaps onto the 2-inch side, as you can see, it just touches that score line, and although it's great for reinforcing the box a little bit, what I decided to do was just trim the flaps on those shorter sides. And again, I just used the tape as a bit of a guide to cut these bits off. Just check which flap it is. Yep, that one there. Now you can leave it like that if you want, or if you want your box to look a little bit more consistent, then you can actually trim all the flaps, which I think I will do, so that I'm sure whoever's looking inside the box will be more interested in what's actually in it. But I'm just going to make all the flaps the same, so that if it is noticed, then they're not looking uneven. So that's the only difference with that top box, but it goes together in exactly the same way. So we'll just put that together now. And there we go. And as always, flat edge to folded edge, just like before. Oops. There we are, and a gentle reinforce just with my paper folder. And that way, trimming the flaps means that you're not going to get any traffic bunging up or budging up at the corner here. So again, one last moment of truth. Not folded that properly. There we go. Okay, so that's my 3 boxes, the largest box and the middle box and the smallest box on the top. And then all I did was I used my gold shimmer ribbon, which is 1/4 inch thick, just to tie round them. And the trick is kind of holding them together while you do that. So let's take a bit of ribbon off the roll. There we go. I can straighten it up once I've put it all together as well. If the boxes move a little bit, I'm not too worried. The trick is just getting that to go round and underneath the boxes without twisting. So just take your time doing that and just double check that it's not twisted, which it isn't. Bring it back up and just cut an extra bit of length here. And then all I did then was just tucked this under to catch it in place. There we are. And tied a knot and then a bow. So I don't want to pull it too tight because I don't want to squash my poor wee boxes. But before I do any more, I'm just going to, that's fine. Well, that hasn't really, don't know what's happened there. Let's just do that bit again. It's just going to keep sliding around. So take the knot out very carefully and bring that bit. Oh, what have you done, Karen? Let's see. Let's bring this bit up again and round this way. Is that it? Did I just put it through the wrong bit? I think I maybe did. Let's see. I'm just trying not to squash the boxes. There we are. That's a bit better. It's not going to move now. I don't know what I did the first time. And yet it's doing it again. Right. Tie a knot and just be done with it, for goodness sake. Because once you've got your knot tied, it's not going to go anywhere. There we are. So that's a little bit more successful. And then I'm just going to tie a bow and leave some long tails hanging down wherever they want to go. I'm not going to worry too much about where they end up. There we are, that'll do fine. So just to match that length, I'm just going to trim that one there, and there we are. That's our box tied together. I'm really pleased with that, and just move it around a little bit. So I thought, rather than stamping my greeting in black, and that is the honeybee stamp set that I used, oops, come here, to stamp my sentiment, thinking of you sweet friend. I thought I would do the sentiment in gold embossing powder, and I need a piece of card, and I need a block. I need to grab my Versamark, and I did have it. I've pushed so many things out of the way. It should be in here. There we are. It's underneath my embossing buddy, so grab my embossing buddy out, because that's the thing that I forget about mostly. Give my card a rub with that. Ink up my stamp with the Versamark and just stamp that down. And I don't know if you can see it, but I certainly can for putting my embossing powder on. So I will just grab my gold embossing powder and a scrap piece of paper and just throw that over my sentiment. Tap that off and just do it one more time just to make sure. There we are, and make sure there aren't any rogue bits before I get my heat gun. And it isn't plugged in, but at least I've remembered that this time, so I'm just going to clamber about in a second once I've got rid of this powder and plug that in. So get rid of that and clamber under the desk again. I'm really glad you can't see me doing that. There we go. And come back and switch the heat gun on. So it will get a little bit loud, so if you want to turn the volume down, feel free. There we go, and I've just noticed I have managed to get a little bit of extra gold in there, but I'm just going to leave it. It does look like a bit of a squinty dot on the top of the eye, but it's not really meant to be there. And then I used the Label Me Lovely punch, I think this is, to punch that out, and then I'll show you. It should be set enough up to be able to punch that out too much. I'm forgetting that it's, oops, forgetting that it's that way round. So I'm just making sure that my sentiment is in the middle. I think that's straight-ish. That'll do. Punch that out. And it's actually got a slot here and a little hole punch here as well, so it does more than one thing, this punch, but obviously when you do punch your shapes out you get all three whether you want them or not. And then all I did was I came along with my scissors and I just cut from this little straight edge to this little straight edge with my scissors, because I don't want those bits, I just want that to be straight across the top. And if you don't quite manage to get that little bit off, just come along and trim it again. That's not entirely straight, but it'll do for now, and the same on that side. And it gives me those straight edges top and bottom, but it gives me those little rounded edges on the sides, and it also fitted to the top of my box better as well. And then all I did just to flatten those bits where I've cut them is I just took my paper folder along. There you go. I probably could have punched that a little bit better. Now I did use the gold glitter enamel dots on my original boxes, but I don't think they'll go, so it's back to my little champagne rhinestones, and I'm just going to use the smallest size and just dot 2 or 3 around where I think they'll fit. If I'd stamped, oops, didn't really want that right on the edge, but never mind. If I'd stamped that a little bit better, I would have had a little bit more room to place them a bit better, but it'll do for now. And then I'm going to grab my dimensionals, here we go, and pop a couple on the back of my sentiment and pop it on the top of my box. There we go. So I'm just going to pop that on there, and I'll just tilt it towards me to make sure that it's kind of straight. There we are, and that's my stack of boxes. I did add a little gold foil bee onto those because the foiling on them is gold, and although I'd cut an extra one out, I'm not entirely sure that matches, so I'm just going to leave it. I might add it later, but I'm not sure. So that's my trio of rectangular boxes. I'm really pleased with that actually, and I'm just loving these papers. They're absolutely gorgeous. So if you want them, remember you need to pop in your order before the 31st of March. These are free with a £45 spend. They're a level 1 free offer. But remember, as with this DSP, things are starting to sell out now, so if you want them, you'll need to be quick to make sure that you do get them. But I'm really pleased with that, so I think when I do my next order I might add some more of that on, because I really like it. So hopefully you liked watching me making those, and hopefully you'll have a go yourselves as well. So until I see you again, take care and be good, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.